Today is, of course, Chof Ches Iyar. Tomorrow, Shabbos and Varchim Sivan. It's what's called in Lubavitch, based, of course, on the Rebbe's inspiration, Shabbos Achtas. The Inyan of Matan Torah is Achtas, right? Hakel is Ha'om, Anoshim, Va'ataf. Like I always tell you, that Matan Torah is called Yom HaKohol, because it's an idea of Hakel, men, women, and children. So the Rebbe spoke about the Shabbos before Matan Torah being Achdus. We should get together. Now, normally the yeshivas would get together, and this Shabbos we're going to get together in quarantine. We're going to be together in different makoymos, but like the Rebbe says, the Friedrich Rebbe, the older Rebbeim say, that Mokum Gashmi is not a real many of Ikov. So I wish to help him that we shouldn't even have this many of Ikov. Now, we're learning, let me just put on my light, we're learning the Maimon Mashcheini from Tafshin Chai. This is our fourth and final shiur on this Maimon with Hashem's help. As I already announced, starting Sunday, I'm going to be going back to Tafshin Lamed Ches. In other words, we had spare time, and we did a handful of Maimorim. We did a Maimon from Tafshin Yud Gimel, we did a Maimon from Tafshin Yud Daled, and now we just did with Hashem's help 4 Maimorim from Tafshin Yud Ches. So we're going to be going back to our regular limud Tafshin Lamed Ches, and of course we're immediately going to be behind. Bechukaisai is going to be then. This Sunday is going to be already Pashas Nosei. But the Rebbe should help them to happen. Be'ezer Hashem Yisbarach v'Yisala. Now Rabbi say, I'm going to be giving a shiur beginning on page 20, Sif Vov of the Maimon Mashcheini. And for those of you who are following me on Facebook, the PDF is available. Look for it and you'll find it. For those of you who go to my website, if you go to my website and you go to the Maimorim page, I know it's a lot of steps, but go to the Maimorim page, go to the Rebbe's Maimorim by year, go to 1958 Tafshin Chai, scroll to the bottom. I forgot the number, but this the Maimon Mashcheini, the PDF that goes with this Maimon is there. And download it so that you can follow inside as we learn this last shiur on this here Maimon Mashcheini Acharecha Narutza Tafshin Chai. Now, as I've explained to you, this Maimon Mashcheini is based, of course, on a Maimon from the Rebbe Rashab, from Tov Reish Nun Hey. The Rebbe made it into 2 Maimorim, the Hovan Inyan Sfiras Eimin and then Mashcheini. And there's a difference between the 2 Maimorim. The first Maimon discusses the lower levels of the Neshama. This Maimon is a discussion on Yechida. What's unusual about this Maimon is that we speak about Yechida of the Nefesh HaBahamis. Mikfirim Yechidasi. We speak about the Yechida of the Nefesh HaBahamis. And the Rebbe taught us the day before yesterday that Mikfirim Yechidasi is different than the Yechida of Kedusha, because in Kedusha the Yechida is connected to Yachid, and by Klipa you can't say this. And also because in Yechida there's one Ratzon, and in Klipa there's many Ratzenis. And the avodah is Mashcheini. Mashcheini is to wake up the Yechid of the Nefesh HaLakis. Acharecha Narutza is to wake up the many Ritzenos of the Nefesh HaBahamis, and should also run towards HaKadosh Baruch. In yesterday's class, the Rebbe asked a question. The question that the Rebbe asked was, why is it necessary to be mevarer the Nefesh HaBahamis? Why can't we just serve Hashem with the Nefesh HaLakis alone? As it turns out, this question of the Rebbe, why is it necessary to be mevarer the Nefesh HaBahamis? Pardon me. Why can't we serve Hashem with the Nefesh HaLakis alone is really 2 questions. Because there's 2 different Mashcheinis and Acharecha Narutzas. There's the Mashcheini Acharecha Narutza of the previous Maimer that speaks about the meeting of the divine soul and the animal soul on the lower levels of the Neshama. And there's the Mashcheini Acharecha Narutza of our Maimer, which is speaking about the meeting of the divine soul and the animal soul on the level of Yechida. So yesterday the Rebbe answered the first question. Why is it necessary, as a preparation to Matan Torah, not just to wake up the Neshama, but also to be mevarer the Nefesh HaBahamis, to bring clarity to the animal soul, the preparation for Matan Torah? Why is the Neshama not sufficient? So the Rebbe explained in yesterday's class Because the Nefesh HaBahamis has something called Teikev Gadol. The animal soul is not rational. It's not an intellectual creature. He operates on Teva. And there's a certain intensity, a certain intentness, a certain singularity, a certain polarity, a certain strength that being simple has, that being sophisticated doesn't have. And this is why the Nefesh HaBahamis has to be engaged. And again, as I explained to you, the way I understood it, yesterday's class was talking even on the lower levels of the Neshama. That the Mashcheini means to awaken the Nefesh HaLekis. Acharecha L'Rutza means to awaken the Nefesh HaLekis and the Nefesh HaBahamis. Why was the Nefesh HaBahamis also be awakened? Because he adds to the scheme an element of not Seichel, of Teikif, of stronger than Seichel. Today, we are repeating the question and repeating the answer, but on a notch up. Again, I hope I'm not misleading you. This is how I understand it. That there's the Mashcheini of Yechidah. Mashcheini, Hashem wakes up the Pintaliyud. Achanecha Narutza means Hashem wakes up the Yechidah of the Nefesh HaBahamis so that it should run towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And as we discussed on Wednesday, that the Acharecha Narutza doesn't mean the Nefesh HaLekis and the Nefesh HaBahamis. It means the Ritzonos Rabim of the Yechidah of the Nefesh HaBahamis. Nefesh HaBahamis has a Yechidah. It has an urgency which is infinite. But it has many wills. And Acharecha Narutza means that all the aspects of will of the animal soul should be running towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Rebbe is going to re-ask the question, if we're dealing with Yechidah, which is the level of the Neshama, which is so one with the Lakus that it's Mamash and Inyan Atzmi, what's wrong with serving Hashem with the Yechidah of Nefesh HaLekis? Why is it so necessary to also be Mevada the Yechidah of the Nefesh HaBahamis? And the Rebbe is going to give us an answer. And the answer is very difficult to understand. Very, very difficult to understand. Unless you say that in this Maimer Yechidah doesn't mamish mean Yechidah, it means Chaya Yechidah, it means the Makifim of the Neshama. So I'm going to try and do something which is for me hard, which is to hold my tongue. What I would like to do right now is tell you the problem that the Maimer is going to present and tell you what I think the solution is. The problem is the solution that I'm going to present doesn't say in the Maimer. So when you present the solution which is not in the Maimer, there's a strong likelihood, very strong likelihood, that it's not just made up, but it's incorrect. So I'm going to hold my tongue. I'm not going to tell you the problem. I'm certainly not going to tell you the solution until we learn all of Perek Vav, Bli Neder. See if I can do it. After we learn the Maimer and hear what the Rebbe has to say, and I suppose try and understand what the Rebbe is saying within the context of the Rebbe's words, I'll tell you the question, and I'm going to tell you my suggested answer, and that's all it is. It's just my personal interpretation of what I see as a Shverikait and a Maimer Chassidus. Okay? So here we go. Omnom, page 20. Sivav. Omnom and Dayan Tzarchav. The question remains outstanding. Why is it necessary to bring clarity to the animal soul? And this question is being asked on the Yechidah level. On the lower levels, he asked in the previous Perek. And over there he answered because of Tekef Ratzon of the Nefesh HaBahamis. But in the previous chapter, when he talked about the lower levels of the Nefesh HaLekis and the lower levels of the Nefesh HaBahamis, I said to you, and I think it's true, it's not such a strong question, because since the Nefesh HaLekis and the Nefesh HaBahamis are Be'eslapshus, they occupy the same space in the Guf, and there's no room for both of them, they compete directly. So in that case, you can't ignore the Nefesh HaBahamis, you have to fight with them and beat them. But now we're talking on the Yechidah level. The Yechidah doesn't have a space. And because the Yechidah doesn't have a space in the Guf, the two Neshames, the two Nefashas of Yechidah of Nefesh HaLekis and Yechidah of Nefesh HaBahamis never meet. They just alternate taking up the space. And when one reveals the Yechidah of Nefesh HaLekis, there's simply no room for the Yechidah of the Nefesh HaBahamis. Why do you have to harness or transform, or as the Rebbe uses the word birur, bring clarity to the Nefesh HaBahamis when you're talking about the Madrega of Yechidah? This is what I think the Rebbe's question is. And there are a lot of different ways of understanding the Rebbe's words. If you're going to present what we presented in Perek Hey, that the Nefesh HaBahamis needs birur because the Nefesh HaBahamis has a will that's singular and that's urgent and that's very strong and that's not rational. Harigam b'Nefesh HaLekis, when you're talking about the godly soul, that we said yesterday, his midas are sichliim, and therefore they're complex and sophisticated but not so strong. But yesh bechinas haYechidah. We're now discussing the Yechidah of the Nefesh HaLekis. No. And the Yechida of Nefesh Elokis is also Ratzon Shalamayla Mi'ataham Kanal. As we said in this whole Maimer, the whole idea of Yechida is just beyond reason. As I explained to you in one of my introductions, that Yechida is Yechida L'Yachtach. Yechida is Etzem HaNeshama Kamishi Mukasheres B'Ha'atzmos. Yechida Shebenefesh is not relating to Elokus, it's a piece of Elokus. So Yechida Benefesh, the relationship with Hashem, is like one's relationship with self. That's infinite, that's not rational. So when you're talking about the Mashcheini of Yechida, why do you still need to be Mavada the Nefesh HaBahamis? Now when you read the words of this Maimer, the Pashtus is, the Rebbe is saying, why do you have to be Mavada the Madregas of the Nefesh HaBahamis is Midas in face of the Gila of the Yechida Shebenefesh. But I'm going to say that the Rebbe doesn't only mean the Midas. The Rebbe means the Yechid, the beater of the Yechida of the Nefesh HaBahamis. The Yechida of the Nefesh HaBahamis has an urgency to the Malam and Aseichel. And it has the Tzenis Rabbim. It wants many things. And we have to be mavaded, not just the midas of the Nefesh HaBahamis, but the midas of the Yechida of the Nefesh HaBahamis. But I don't know if I'm correct. I'm just telling you what I think. Says the Rebbe Bechin, as Yechida yesh nemecholachet mi, so we all understand that Yechida is present in every single human being, every single Yid. Shgami sheyesh le nefesh nemucha, Yid was the lowest neshama. Bechin is nefesh, the nefesh bavad, the soul of the soul alone, which is mentioned in Tanya chapter 18, right? Nefesh, the malchus asiyah. Yechida also has a point of Yechida, or in the language of the Tanya. You have an akud of Kedusha. And Kedusha is connected to Ein Sof. And in this point of Yechida, it then radiates downward into the lower levels of the neshama called Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama Shalamata Mimena, as it says, from the Yechida it inspires all the lower levels of the neshama, including the conscious levels of the neshama. The question is asked the second time. If we say that Havodah the Mashcheini when you gil b'chinas Yechida, if we're going to read the second Maimer of this Hemshech, that Mashcheini doesn't mean to reveal the neshama on the level of Nefesh Elokis, on the levels of Naran, but it means Mashcheini to be Magal the Yechida Shebenefesh. Why does it become necessary to then have a acharecha we should chase in plural after a lakus, which is bitter nefesh habahamis dafka, the clarity brought to the animal soul? The yechid is already lamal tamvadas. Now Rabbi say, bepashtos bitter nefesh habahamis means the midas of the nefesh habahamis. But I believe that over here he doesn't only mean the midas of the nefesh habahamis. He means taka the yechid of the nefesh habahamis. That the bitter of the yechid of the nefesh habahamis is not an elevation and a refinement. It's a redirection. It's an urgency towards behemius that's split into many different retainas, that's redirected towards Elokus, and it becomes a single ratzon to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like it says in the Maimer, in Basi Legani, V'rav tu is b'keach sheir. When you get the animal soul to turn around, he's stronger than the Nefesh Elokis, and this is on the Yechida level. So the question is, before we talked about the Naran of the Nefesh Elokis and the Naran Nefesh HaBahamis, we could explain the need for the Acharech HaNarutz. But if we're speaking about the Yechida of the Nefesh Elokis, and now I'm adding the Yechida of the Nefesh HaBahamis, which are both on a level of Mamitam Vadas, the Yechida of Nefesh Elokis should be sufficient for this Eson, for this Toike, for this Ratzon Shalom Mamitam Vadas, because the Yechida is higher than Seichel. And the Rebbe gives a very strange answer. Who the teretz is, the Kiv and Nefesh Elokis who bechin Asodam. Nefesh Elokis is a mensch. A mensch! That's it. A mensch. An Adam. Says the Rebbe L'chain, he gam ha'aratz and she'ein beitam. The minute you're talking about mensch, in mensch, in as much as mensch is concerned, even when he wants something beyond tam, it's urgent and it's infinite and it's polar and it's singular. Yesh beitam kamas. The trademark of Adam is that what he does is reasonable. And even the things that he does that are not reasonable have a secret reason. It's called yesh tam kamas l'ratz. And the argument of the Rebbe in this Maimer is that the Yechida of the Nefesh Elokis, Yechida, really has a tam. And because he really has a tam, the tam tempers the will of the Yechida. The Nefesh HaBahamis doesn't have a tam. So there's nothing to temper the Nefesh HaBahamis Yechida will, and therefore from the Nefesh HaBahamis Yechida will comes a Toikif, which cannot come from the Yechida will of the Nefesh Elokis. V'hainu l'fi the pshatas. Adam, a human being, the fundamental definition of Adam is tam, is that he's reasonable. And of course, you know that it says in Chassidus, some of this tam v'seichel, tam v'eitza, and then there's tam v'oinig. There's logical tam, and there's absolute tam. There's tam that makes sense, that you can debate and tell another person, And tam, which is a pleasure, a pleasure, a delight, which comes from the etzem and neshama, which is absolute, but it's because it's absolute, you can't share it, you can't debate it, but it's also aniyah from tam. And tam always weakens ratzon. It says in Samach Vav that the ratzon has an urgency which is infinite. Tainug is an anticlimax to ratzon. Tam is an anticlimax to ratzon when I take it. And the proof is Shari Honoré, and we see in fact, a person has a will. And by definition, it's irrational, it's super rational. It's an incredibly strong will. And the proof is that when the reason that motivated this will departs, the will remains in all of its urgency. On the other hand, it's possible. As time passes, because his will, even if it's a will which is beyond reason, but in a hidden way, in a subliminal way, the yesh tam komas l'ratzon, the will is weakened. It's going to change, and it's going to be bottled completely. Let's analyze this. Whereas, in as much as this is a will which is above reason, the proof is that initially, when you looked at this will, it seemed so urgent. It was betake of God with a hardness that's so great. There's no tempering it through reason or through pleasure at all. The question then becomes, why over the course of time? The reason which we didn't see in the beginning seems to percolate up and out, and it softens the will until it can change the will, until it make the will go away. It says that you must say the pshat is that when it comes to Adam, mensch, which is nefesh elokis, which is kedusha, there's always a tam. When a person has a will, and presumably it's beyond reason, it's his essence, it's his personality that wants. There's really a time for this as well. Because when you're talking about Adam, anything he does is based on reason. Ella, but there's an interesting expression. It's called tam komus v'nelam. It's called yesh tam komus ratzon. There's no tam goloi for the ratzon, but a hidden tam, a subliminal tam there is for the ratzon. Shalamalam tam sichli, which is beyond the revealed intellectual tam. It's a tam which has to do with flavor, with gishmak, rather the tam has to do with reason. And as it emerges, the will is diminished. When the will initially emerged, you didn't see the tam behind it. What showed was only the will and not the tam. And this will had incredible hardness, incredible strength. And it appeared as if it's totally super rational with no reason behind it, which is, of course, the meaning of ratzon, of yechida, even in the nefesh elokis. Says the Rebbe, Aval, however, since we're dealing with Adam, so as time passed, the secret reason is emerged, it exposes itself. And what was before a hidden reason becomes an actual logical reason. And the moment it becomes a logical reason, the will is qualified by the why of the what? Of the will. First of all, the desire becomes complicated, becomes qualified by its tam, with its rational reason. And therefore the will itself can change over time. When the time changes, the ratzon changes. So the Rebbe says, that when you're talking about the nefesh elokis, even Yechida's will has a tam, and when that tam shows, the will is going to be weakened and even transformed. And therefore we understand, when a person has the will which is above reason, and in this case Yechida, yesh bei tam komas. As long as we're dealing with Adam, there's a secret reason. Everything that man is motivated to do and does has tam, has reason and yishma, pleasure. It has a limit. And therefore, says the Rebbe, even when you magal the will of Yechida, the will of Yechida has a tam komas, which one day is going to show itself and weaken and transform the will. And that's why it's been about nefesh habahamis, even on the Yechida level. Mashcheini on the other hand, the animal soul, which is called an animal, and it is an animal. And animals are not rational beings. They're polar, extreme creations. And the nefesh habahamis is the will of the animal soul, who believe tam legam, there's no reason whatsoever, no pleasure whatsoever. And therefore, Allah has no limits whatsoever. And therefore, Allah for one to touch The Eibishter himself, who is altogether beyond reason, it's not enough to Nefesh Elokis. Because even the Yechidah, Nefesh Elokis has a tam, Komos the Ratzon, which eventually becomes a tam Goli, and it diminishes the Ratzon Atzmi. Which is fully beyond reason. That is, you want to read God, you have to have an infinite urgency. Infinite urgency has to happen from the animal soul, dafke. Like we discussed on the previous pages 18 and 19. On the pasuk, only the malach, only the animals can reach up Adam Elyon Atzilos to higher than Atzilos. Shahachayas, that the malachim called chayas. In terms of it, that's the beat of the Nefesh HaBahamis. They lift, they carry, and they lift the chair. The one sitting on the chair. And even how in Adam there's layad, in other words, even how in a person, in a mensch, there's will which is higher than seichel, they lift it up as well. To the absolute level of layadam, which is lamayla miyishtal. In other words, there's three things. There's the kisei, there's the Adam, and there's Loi Adam Shaba Adam. All these three things have a shaykhs directly, indirectly, with Seichel. And the Loi Adam of Nefesh HaBahamis has no shaykhs directly or indirectly to Seichel. And the Loi Adam of Nefesh HaBahamis is what raises up the Loi Adam of the Nefesh Elokis, which is not a real Loi Adam. Shain. That's the Kasha, and that's the Teretz. Let me stop, okay? Stop ready. What's the problem? The problem is the definition of Sarasan. That's what it means. I'll explain to you what there's something called Pnimiyat Sarasan and Chitzeniat Sarasan, an inner will and an outer will. And then, of course, within Pnimiyat Sarasan itself, they speak of a variety of levels. And certainly in Chitzeniat Sarasan, they speak also many levels. And they say, basically, that Chitzeniat Sarasan is not real Ratzon. Chitzeniat Sarasan looks like Ratzon, looks like it's higher than Seichel, but it's really not, because Yesh Tam Kamas. There's a reason what the reason is Kamas. Pnimiyat Sarasan is Ein Tam Kamas Sarasan. That's what says in Chassidus. Samach Bav and in other places. Now, in general, when you want to speak about Pnimiyat Sarasan and Chitzeniat Sarasan, and say that Chitzeniat Sarasan is Yesh Tam Kamas Sarasan, and Pnimiyat Sarasan is Ein Tam Kamas Sarasan, there's a difference in Chaya and Yechidah. Chaya and Chitzeniat Sarasan is Yesh Tam Kamas Sarasan. Is Pnimiyat Sarasan and is Ein Tam Kamas Sarasan. Now understand what this means. Tam Kamas doesn't mean a secret reason. Tam means a reason that I don't